A scarred German shepherd appeared at a marine's door at midnight. 3 more followed. What happened next would shatter everything he thought he'd left behind. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The farmhouse sat alone on 18 acres of Virginia woodland. Rain hammered the roofs in steady rhythm. Inside, Jake Morrison moved through darkened rooms with practiced efficiency. His right leg dragged slightly. Shrapnel scars caught the dim light from his laptop screen. 2 in the morning, another sleepless night. Jake poured his 4th coffee. The kitchen smelled of old wood and silence. No television, no music, just the storm and his breathing. He checked the security camera feeds on his tablet. Driveway empty, barn secure, perimeter clear. Nothing ever changed here. That was the point. 3 years since the explosion. 3 years since Ranger died in his arms. 3 years of nights exactly like this one. The mantel held 5 photographs in silver frames. Jake in dress uniform, his unit in Kandahar, a folded American flag in a triangle case, and Ranger. Beautiful Ranger with his alert brown eyes and confident stance. Jake's phone buzzed, another missed call from Beth. His sister worried too much. He sent the call to voicemail without looking. He limped to the window. Rain blurred the glass. The tree line swayed in wind gusts. His reflection stared back. Hollow eyes, beard growing uneven, the face of a man just surviving. He'd taken the night security job because it required no people, just cameras and silence. Empty warehouses didn't ask questions, didn't expect conversation, didn't look at him with pity. The coffee tasted bitter. Everything tasted bitter now. Jake had stopped keeping ammunition in the house 6 months ago. The rifle stood in the closet, unloaded. The weight of it in his hands triggered too many memories. Gunpowder smell, screaming. The way Ranger's body went still. He shook his head. Don't go there. The storm intensified. Thunder rolled across the valley. Jake's hands trembled slightly as he set down his mug. They always trembled now. The doctors called it nerve damage. Jake called it permanent. He checked the cameras again. Still nothing. His physical therapy exercises sat abandoned on the counter. Rubber bands and printed diagrams. Beth had driven 3 hours to bring them last month. He'd promised to use them. He hadn't touched them since. The farmhouse had belonged to his grandfather. 1,600 square feet of memories and dust. Jake had moved in after his medical discharge. Away from the city, away from crowds. Away from the world that kept spinning while his stopped. Lightning flashed. The barn illuminated briefly. Jake counted seconds until thunder. 4 miles away. Ranger's collar hung on a nail beside the door. Worn leather. Tarnished name tag. Jake's fingers brushed it every time he left the house. A ritual. A reminder. A wound he wouldn't let heal. The prescription bottles lined the bathroom shelf. Anti-anxiety. Sleep aids. Pain management. Jake took them irregularly. They dulled the edges but never erased the picture. He opened the laptop. Security company portal. 8 hours until his shift ended. He'd drive to the warehouse, sit in the guardhouse, watch more empty camera feeds, drive home, repeat. This was life now. Small, contained, safe. No attachments, no risk, no loss. The rain pounded harder. Jake rubbed his right arm. The scars ached in weather like this. Doctors said it was phantom pain. Nerve endings remembering trauma. The body keeping score. He thought about calling Beth back. Decided against it. What would he say? That he was fine? She'd hear the lie. That he wasn't fine? She'd worry more. Better to stay silent. The coffee had gone cold. Jake dumped it in the sink. Through the window, darkness pressed against the glass. The woods beyond held nothing but trees and rain and memories he couldn't escape. He checked the time. 2:17. 5 more hours until dawn. Jake returned to the living room. Sat in the recliner facing the door. The baseball bat leaned against the armrest. He kept it close. Not because he expected trouble, because preparation was the only control he had left. The house creaked, old wood settling, familiar sounds. Then a new sound cut through the storm. Scratching, deliberate, rhythmic, at the front door. Jake's pulse quickened. His hand found the bat. He stood slowly. The scratching continued, not frantic, not random, purposeful. He approached the door, looked through the peephole. Rain obscured everything. The scratching stopped. Jake's breathing came faster. His palms sweated against the bat handle. Probably a branch. Wind-blown debris. Nothing. But his instincts screamed otherwise. He flipped on the porch light, grabbed the doorknob, turned it slowly. The door opened 6 inches. A German shepherd sat perfectly still on the porch, soaked fur, plastered to a thin frame, one ear torn at the tip. Eyes locked on Jake with unsettling intensity. The dog didn't move, didn't bark, didn't break eye contact. Jake's breath caught. That posture, that stillness. Military training. He opened the door wider. The dog remained motionless, waiting. For what? Jake's hand moved unconsciously, a gesture he'd made 1,000 times with Ranger. Palm flat, fingers together. The signal for enter. The German shepherd stood and walked inside. Jake closed the door behind the dog. Water dripped from soaked fur onto hardwood floors. The shepherd stood in the entryway, shivering but disciplined. No shaking off water, no exploring, just waiting. This wasn't normal dog behavior. Jake grabbed a towel from the bathroom. When he returned, the dog hadn't moved an inch. Still that same rigid posture, still watching. He approached slowly. The shepherd's eyes tracked his movement, but the body remained still. Jake knelt. His knee protested. He ignored it. Up close, the damage became visible. A fresh wound crossed the dog's right shoulder. Not deep, but recent. The fur around it was matted with dried blood. Rope burns circled the neck beneath a missing collar. The front left paw showed a cracked pad. Raw, painful. Jake's jaw tightened. Someone had hurt this animal. He began drying the fur gently. The dog accepted the touch without flinching. Professional tolerance. The kind that came from endless handling by strangers in uniform. Jake worked the towel along the back. His fingers found more scars beneath the coat. Old ones. Healed but permanent. Training wounds or combat injuries. Maybe both. The dog's ribs showed through the skin. Underfed. How long had it been running? Jake moved to the injured shoulder. The dog's muscles tensed, but it didn't pull away. Didn't growl. Just endured. That's when Jake saw the tattoo. Inside the left ear. Black ink. Military precision. K9 VLK-02. His hands stopped moving. VLK. Valkyrie. He knew that name. Every K9 handler knew that name. Valkyrie had died 6 months ago in Syria. Took down a suicide bomber before detonation. Saved 14 soldiers. Posthumous commendation. This dog was connected to her. Jake sat back on his heels. His mind raced. Military canines didn't just wander Virginia farmland. They were tracked, monitored, accounted for. Unless something had gone very wrong. The dog's dark eyes held his gaze. Something unspoken passed between them. Recognition maybe, or shared trauma. Jake couldn't name it, but he felt it in his chest. He stood, moved to the kitchen. The dog followed 3 paces behind, exact heel distance, textbook formation. Jake filled a bowl with water, set it on the floor. The shepherd looked at it but didn't drink, just stared at the bowl, waiting for permission. Jake made the release gesture, a downward wave. The dog drank immediately, long, deep pulls. Desperately thirsty, but controlled even in desperation. How long had it been since someone gave commands this dog understood? Jake opened the refrigerator. Leftover chicken. He pulled meat from the bones, placed it in another bowl, set it down. Again the dog waited. Again Jake released. The food disappeared in seconds. Still hungry. Hungry, but the bowl was empty. Jake added more. This time the dog ate slower. Some need had been met, starvation panic fading. He filled the water bowl again, released again. The dog drank until satisfied, then sat. Back straight, eyes forward, awaiting orders. Jake's throat tightened. This was someone's partner. Someone had trained this dog, bonded with it, relied on it. Where was that person now? He grabbed his phone, photographed the ear tattoo, opened a browser, searched military K9 registry databases, access denied, credentials required. He tried veteran forums, K9 handler groups. Nothing about a missing dog with this designation. The shepherd watched him work. Patient, alert, too calm for a lost animal. Jake set the phone down, looked at the dog, really looked. Young, maybe 18 months, still growing into its frame, but the eyes were ancient. the eyes had seen things, just like his. The dog's head tilted slightly, ears forward. Then it turned toward the window, stared into darkness. A low growl built in its chest. Jake froze. That wasn't a pet's growl. That was a warning. Tactical assessment of threat. He moved to the window, saw nothing but rain and trees. The dog growled deeper. Then Jake heard it. An engine, distant but approaching. Headlights swept across the driveway. A truck, moving slowly, too slowly. The vehicle passed without stopping, continued down the rural road, disappeared. The dog's growl faded, but it stayed focused on the window. Body tense. Someone was looking for this animal. Jake's instincts kicked in. The ones that kept him alive overseas. The ones that screamed danger before logic caught up. He checked the door locks, drew the curtains, turned off the porch light. The dog watched his movements, approved somehow, like it expected these precautions. Jake returned to the kitchen, knelt again, examined the rope burns more closely. These weren't from a leash. Too uniform, too deliberate. This dog had been tied, restrained, against its will. The bullet graze on the shoulder confirmed it. Someone had shot at this animal, recently. Jake's hands curled into fists. He knew cruelty, knew what people did to tools they no longer valued. But military dogs weren't discarded. They were assets, protected, honored, unless they'd been stolen. The pieces started connecting. Missing canine connected to Valkyrie. Fresh injuries suggesting escape. Someone searching the area. This wasn't a stray. This was a fugitive. Jake stood, paced. His leg ached, but he ignored it. The dog's eyes tracked him, waiting for decisions, for leadership. He couldn't keep this animal. It belonged to the military, had a purpose, a mission. But handing it over meant questions, investigations, attention. Jake avoided attention. The dog whined softly, not from pain, from something else. It moved closer, sat directly in front of Jake, raised its right paw, an offering, a request. Jake's vision blurred. Ranger used to do that. When Jake was struggling, when the weight got too heavy, Ranger would offer his paw, a reminder, you're not alone. His hand moved without thought, grasped the paw, held it. The dog's tail wagged once, twice, then stilled. Jake's voice came out rough, almost broken. All right, you can stay tonight. The dog's ears perked, like it understood not just the words, but the meaning behind them. Jake released the paw, moved to the closet, pulled out Ranger's old bed. He'd kept it, couldn't throw it away. He placed it near the fireplace. The dog approached, circled once, settled into the bed like it belonged there. Within seconds, the exhaustion hit. The dog's eyes closed, breathing deepened. But even in sleep, its ears remained partially alert, monitoring, protecting. Jake watched from the kitchen, his coffee forgotten, his routine shattered. Something had changed. He felt it in his bones. This wasn't random. Couldn't be. The dog's chest rose and fell, peaceful now, safe. Jake's phone buzzed. Beth again. This time he answered. Her voice came through worried. Jake, please tell me you're okay. He looked at the sleeping shepherd. At T. Ranger's collar by the door. At the storm still raging outside. I'm fine, he lied. But for the first time in 3 years, he wondered if that might eventually become true. Morning light filtered through the curtains. Jake woke in the recliner. His neck ached from the angle. The dog was gone from the bed. Panic flared. He sat up too fast. His vision swam. The shepherd stood at the window, staring out, ears forward, completely still. Jake exhaled. Still here. He stood. Joints protested. The dog turned its head, acknowledged him, returned to watching. What are you looking for? No answer, just vigilance. Jake stited coffee. The dog followed him to the kitchen, maintained that same 3-pace distance. When Jake stopped, it stopped. When he moved, it moved. Shadow tactics. Protective positioning. He filled the food bowl. The dog waited for release. Ate with controlled efficiency. No desperation this morning. Just fuel. Jake's phone showed 6 missed calls. 3 from Beth, 2 from unknown numbers, 1 from his supervisor. He'd missed his shift. First time in 3 years. He called the warehouse, explained he was sick, food poisoning. His supervisor bought it, told him to rest. Jake ended the call, looked at the dog. You're already causing problems. The dog tilted its head, almost apologetic. Jake grabbed the first aid kit, knelt beside the shepherd. Time to clean that shoulder wound properly. The dog stood perfectly still. Let Jake part the fur, Apply antiseptic, wrap gauze, not a single flinch. That level of tolerance wasn't natural. It was trained, conditioned through repetition. Jake moved to the cracked paw pad. The dog lifted its leg automatically, presenting the injury. Someone had spent months teaching these responses. He cleaned the pad gently, applied antibiotic ointment. The dog's eyes watched his face, reading intentions. "You trust too easily," Jake said softly. The dog's tail wagged once. Jake finished the wrap, sat back. His hands rested on his knees. The dog stepped closer, pressed its head against Jake's chest. The weight of it, the warmth. Jake's arms moved on instinct, wrapped around the animal. He hadn't hugged anything living in 3 years. His eyes burned. He pulled back, stood quickly, turned away. The dog waited patiently, gave him space. Jake cleared his throat, grabbed his tablet, searched for veterinary clinics, found one 20 miles away, small practice. Owner was former military, Dr. Sarah Chen, Army Veterinary Corps, discharged 8 years ago. Maybe she'd have answers. Jake loaded the dog into his truck. It jumped into the passenger seat without hesitation, sat upright, looked forward through the windshield, like it had ridden in vehicles 1,000 times. The drive took 30 minutes. Rural roads, minimal traffic. The dog tracked every passing car, every movement. Hypervigilance. Jake recognized it, lived it. The clinic was a converted farmhouse, white paint, red door, a wooden sign reading Chen Veterinary Services. Jake parked. The dog waited until he opened the door, then exited, healed perfectly. Inside, the waiting room was empty. A bell chimed. A woman emerged from the back, late 40s, black hair tied back, kind eyes that sharpened when she saw the dog. "Dr. Chen? That's me." She approached slowly. The dog watched but didn't react. "What's your name?" "Jake Morrison." "This dog showed up last night, injured." Dr. Chen knelt, extended her hand. The dog sniffed, accepted. She ran her hands along the body. Professional assessment. Paused at the shoulder wound. The rope burns. Finally looked at the ear tattoo. Her face changed. Recognition, concern. "Where did you find this dog?" "My property, middle of the night." Dr. Chen stood, looked at Jake directly. "Do you know what this marking means?" "Military canine." She nodded. "This isn't just any canine. This designation." VLK02. She moved to her computer, typed quickly. Her expression darkened. "This dog shouldn't exist." "What?" "Valkyrie died 6 months ago. She was pregnant when deployed, against protocol, but it happened. She gave birth to 3 pups in theater. 2 died, 1 survived." She turned the screen toward Jake. A classified report, partially redacted, but the tattoo designation was visible. Canine VLK02. This pup was being transported to Canine Training Facility in North Carolina. The transport was ambushed, 2 handlers killed, 5 dogs stolen. Jake's stomach dropped. Stolen? Black market. Trained military dogs sell for $50,000 or more. To private security. Foreign militaries. Worse. She picked up her phone. "I need to make a call." "Wait." Jake's hand moved, stopped short of grabbing her wrist. "Please, just examine him first." Dr. Chen hesitated, set down the phone. "Bring him to the exam room." Jake led the dog through the door. The exam table was steel. The dog jumped up without command. Lay down, exposed its belly. Submission. Trust. Dr. Chen worked in silence, listened to the heart, checked teeth, palpated the abdomen, drew blood. She examined the shoulder wound. "This is a bullet graze. Recent. Maybe 3 days old." Jake's jaw clenched. She moved to the paw, cracked from running on rough terrain. This dog traveled far. The blood sample went into a machine. Results would take 10 minutes. Dr. Chen washed her hands, turned to Jake. "You were military?" "Marines. Discharged 3 years ago." "Canine handler?" Jake nodded. She studied him. "That explains why this dog chose you." "What do you mean?" "Dogs like this, they're trained to seek handlers, if separated from their unit. They're conditioned to find military personnel, the scent markers, the body language. You still carry them." Jake looked at the dog. It stared back. Dr. Chen continued. "This pup's been through trauma, physical and psychological, but its training is intact. Watch." She spoke a word, Arabic. "Stand." The dog stood immediately. Another word. Down. The dog dropped to its belly. Jake's skin prickled. How many commands does it know? Dozens. Maybe more. She paused. This level of training takes months. Someone invested serious resources. The machine beeped. Dr. Chen checked the results. Frowned. What? Elevated cortisol. Signs of prolonged stress. But something else. Trace chemicals in the blood. Explosives residue. Jake's heart rate spiked. Explosives? This dog's been near bomb-making materials. Recently. The room felt smaller. Jake's breathing quickened. The dog sensed it. Jumped down from the table. Pressed against his leg. Grounding pressure. Ranger used to do that. Chen picked up her phone again. I have to report this. Protocol. Jake's hand found the dog's head. Scratched behind the torn ear. How long do I have? She dialed. Maybe an hour. Maybe less. The call connected. Dr. Chen spoke quickly. Reported the tattoo. The injuries. The location. She listened. Her expression shifted. Surprise. Then something like respect. She ended the call. Looked at Jake. Someone's coming. Military K9 recovery unit. They'll be here in 2 hours. Jake nodded. Expected. But she said something else. The officer I spoke to, Captain Rodriguez. He knew your name. Jake's head snapped up. What? Rodriguez. He said you served with a dog named Ranger. Kandahar. 2019. The floor tilted. Jake steadied himself against the table. Dr. Chen's voice softened. He said Ranger saved 12 lives before the IED. He said you tried to save Ranger. Jake couldn't speak. The dog pressed harder against his leg. Rodriguez is coming personally. He wants to talk to you. Jake forced words out. About what? About why 4 military dogs tracked you down in the middle of nowhere. 4? Dr. Chen pointed to the window. Jake turned. 3 more German shepherds sat in his truck bed, watching the clinic door. Waiting. Jake ran outside. The 3 shepherds sat in perfect formation in the truck bed. Ears alert. Eyes forward. Disciplined. How long had they been there? He approached slowly. They watched, but didn't move. The largest one sat in front. Male. Battle scars across his muzzle. Gray starting around his eyes. 5 years old, maybe. The other 2 flanked him. 1 female with intelligent eyes. 1 male with aggressive build but calm demeanor. A younger female sat closest. Closest to the cab. Protective posture. Jake's dog emerged from the clinic. Walked straight to the truck. The others shifted. Made space. A reunion. Dr. Chen stood in the doorway, her phone in her hand. This changes everything. Jake turned. What do you mean? 5 dogs from the same transport. All here. All together. She shook her head. That's not coincidence. That's coordination. How? Pack behavior. Military training. Maybe both. She approached the truck. These dogs escaped captivity. Found each other, then found you. Why me? Dr. Chen looked at him. You're a handler. You're safe. You're isolated. Perfect place to hide. Jake's mind raced. They're hiding? From whoever took them. She pointed at the largest male. Look at his left ear. Jake checked. Another tattoo. K9TN01 Titan. The female beside him had her own marking. K9EC03 Echo. The aggressive male. K9GM04 Grin. The youngest female. K9SB05 Sable. All from the same unit. All stolen. All here. Jake's chest tightened. This wasn't random. This was calculated. Dr. Chen made another call. Spoke quickly. Hung up. Rodriguez will be here in 90 minutes. He's bringing a full recovery team. What happens to them? She hesitated. They go back. Evaluation. Retraining. Reassignment. Back to war. Back to service. There's a difference. Jake looked at the dogs. At their scars. Their 2 knowing eyes. Is there? Dr. Chen didn't answer. Jake opened the truck. The dogs jumped down. All 5 moved together. Tight formation. Havoc in the center. Titan leading. Echo and Grim on flanks. Sable bringing up the rear. Tactical positioning. Even now. Dr. Chen watched them. That's remarkable. They're functioning as a unit without human direction. Because they've had to. She nodded. Survival adaptation. Jake led them back inside. All 5 entered. Fanned out. Checked corners. Established perimeter. Then sat, awaiting orders. Dr. Chen prepared exam stations. I need to check all of them. Document injuries. Build evidence. Evidence for what? for whoever did this. She met Jake's eyes. These dogs are witnesses. Their bodies tell the story. Jake helped, lifted each dog onto tables, held them steady while Dr. Chen worked. Titan first, the oldest. Healed gunshot wound in his right shoulder. Months old. Shrapnel scars across his back. Teeth worn from biting equipment. His eyes were sharp but tired. Dr. Chen spoke softly to him. You've seen too much. Haven't you? Titan's tail thumped once. Acknowledgement. Echo next. Smaller, faster. Chemical burns on her paws. From accelerants, from fire. Her nose showed damage. Nerve endings likely compromised. Search and rescue training, Dr. Chen said. She found people in rubble. Past tense? Her sense of smell is damaged. She can't work anymore. Not effectively. But someone kept her anyway, as merchandise. Grim third. Muscular. Intimidating. But his examination revealed fear conditioning. Healed electrical burns. Stun marks. Someone had used pain to control him. Jake's hands shook with rage. Dr. Chen noticed. I know, she said quietly. Keep going. Sable last, the youngest. Only 2 years old. Lactation marks on her belly. She's had puppies, recently. Within the last few months. Where are they? Dr. Chen's jaw tightened. Sold probably. Purebred military lineage. Worth a fortune. Jake stepped back. Leaned against the wall. The room spun. These weren't just stolen. They were exploited. Dr. Chen finished her examinations. Photographed every injury. Documented everything. She printed the reports. Sealed them in an envelope. Tire sounds outside. Multiple vehicles. They're here. Jake moved to the window. 3 black SUVs. Military plates. Armed personnel exited. Formed a perimeter. A man in uniform approached the clinic. 50s. Captain's bars. Strong jaw. Eyes that had seen combat. Rodriguez. Dr. Chen opened the door. Captain. Rodriguez entered. Surveyed the room. His gaze landed on the dogs. His expression cracked. Just slightly. There they are. His voice was thick. The dogs watched him. Recognized authority, but didn't move. Rodriguez looked at Jake. You're Morrison. Yes, sir. Ranger's handler. Jake nodded. Couldn't speak. Rodriguez approached Havoc. Knelt slowly. Extended his hand. Havoc sniffed. Remembered. Relaxed. You're Valkyrie's pup. Rodriguez's voice broke. You've got her eyes. He touched Havoc's head gently. She died protecting her convoy. Took out a bomber before he reached the vehicles. 14 soldiers went home because of her. He stood. Faced Jake. These dogs were stolen 8 weeks ago. Transport ambushed outside Fort Bragg. 2 handlers killed. 6 dogs taken. 1 recovered within days. These 5 disappeared. What happened? Black market network. We've been tracking them for months. Rodriguez pulled out his phone. Showed photos. Crime scenes. Empty kennels. Shipping manifests. They were moving them overseas. To buyers in Eastern Europe. Private militaries. Cartel security. Jake's stomach turned. But they escaped. Rodriguez nodded. 3 weeks ago, a raid went wrong. Someone left a door open. These 5 ran and came here. Rodriguez looked at him. You're registered in the K9 handler database. Your address. Your profile. These dogs access that information. How? Military dogs are trained on scent recognition software during conditioning. They learn to identify handlers by pheromone signatures. Ranger's signature is still in the database, linked to your file. So they tracked me. Through scent memory. Through survival instinct. They needed a handler. Someone safe. Someone who understood. Jake looked at the pack. All 5 watching. Waiting. What happens now? Rodriguez's expression hardened. They returned to base. Full medical evaluation. Psychological assessment. Then reintegration. Back to combat? Back to service. If they're cleared. And if they're not? Retirement. Adoption through proper channels. Jake's jaw clenched. Proper channels. Rodriguez caught the tone. You have something to say? Look at them. Really look. I am looking. They've been through hell. Stolen. Abused. Trafficked. And they still followed orders. Still maintained formation. Still protected each other. Jake's voice rose. How much more do they have to give? Rodriguez's face was stone. They're assets. Trained at taxpayer expense. They have value. They're living beings. They're soldiers. The room fell silent. Dr. Chen cleared her throat. Captain, the medical reports. She handed him the envelope. Rodriguez opened it. Read. His jaw muscles worked. He looked at the dogs again. Longer this time. The psychological trauma alone, Dr. Chen said. Recovery could take months, maybe years, and some damage is permanent. Rodriguez closed the envelope. I have my orders. And what are those orders? Recover the assets. Return them to service. Even if it kills them? Rodriguez's eyes flashed. I've lost good dogs, Morrison. Dogs I raised from puppies. Dogs that saved my life. Don't lecture me about sacrifice. I'm not lecturing. I'm asking. When is enough enough? Rodriguez stepped closer. When the mission is complete. When the threat is neutralized. When we can afford to let them rest. Jake held his ground. We can afford it now. You don't make that decision. Neither do you. Not really. Rodriguez's hand moved to his sidearm. Not threatening. Just habit. The dogs sensed the tension. All five stood. Moved closer to Jake. Protective positioning. Rodriguez noticed. Called it. That's interesting. What? They've chosen you. Already. Jake said nothing. Rodriguez studied him. Then the dogs. Then back. I could order you to surrender them. Right now. You could. But they'd fight. And you'd have to hurt them to take them. Rodriguez's eyes narrowed. You'd let that happen? Jake met his gaze. I'd do what's right for them, not what's convenient for the military. Silence stretched. Personnel waited outside. Dr. Chen held her breath. Finally, Rodriguez spoke. I need to make a call. He stepped outside. The dogs relaxed slightly. Dr. Chen whispered. That took guts, or stupidity, maybe both. Through the window, Rodriguez paced, phone to his ear. His body language shifted. Surprise. Then something like relief. He returned, put his phone away. Morrison, how would you feel about a temporary foster situation? What? Military canines can be placed in veteran foster homes during recovery, pending medical clearance. Jake's heart pounded. For how long? Rodriguez looked at the dogs. As long as it takes. Jake drove home with 5 military dogs in his truck. The weight of responsibility pressed against his chest. Rodriguez had handed him temporary custody papers. Foster agreement. 30 days minimum. We'll check in weekly, Rodriguez had said. Any problems, you call immediately. Jake had signed without hesitation. Now, pulling into his driveway, reality hit. 5 trained combat animals, 5 traumatized survivors, 5 mouths to feed. He opened the truck, the dogs joked down, moved as one toward the house. Titan took point, cleared the porch, signaled safe with a soft bark. The others entered, began systematic room checks. Echo took upstairs. Grim covered the kitchen. Sable inspected the bathroom. Havoc stayed with Jake. Within 2 minutes, they'd swept the entire house. Then they sat, waiting for direction. Jake stood in his living room, surrounded by German shepherds. His carefully controlled isolation shattered. All right, he said. House rules. 5 pairs of ears perked forward. You eat when I say. You go out when I say. You sleep where I say. Understood? Titan's tail thumped. Agreement. The others followed. Jake showed them Ranger's old bed. Too small for all of them. He grabbed blankets from the closet, made stations around the fireplace. Each dog claimed a spot. Circled, settled. Within minutes they were asleep. Exhaustion finally catching up. Jake watched them, their sides rising and falling, twitching paws, soft whimpers. Even in sleep they couldn't escape. He made coffee, stood at the kitchen window. The woods beyond were still, peaceful, but his instincts screamed otherwise. Someone had stolen these dogs. Someone had lost a valuable asset. Someone would come looking. Jake checked his security cameras, added 2 more angles, reinforced the door locks. The dogs slept through his preparations. They needed it. 3 hours later, Havoc's head lifted, ears forward, a low growl built in his chest. Jake froze. What is it? Havoc moved to the window. The other dogs woke instantly, joined him, all 5 staring into the woods. Jake saw nothing, heard nothing, but the dogs didn't lie. He grabbed his phone, pulled up the security feed, scanned each camera. Movement, brief, someone walking the tree line, too far for facial recognition, but definitely human. His pulse quickened. He zoomed in. The figure wore dark clothing, moved with purpose, stopped, raised binoculars toward the house. Jake's blood ran cold. The figure lowered the binoculars, pulled out a phone, made a call. then disappeared into the trees. Jake backed away from the window. The dogs maintained their positions, silent, alert. He called Rodriguez, straight to voicemail. He tried Dr. Chen. She answered on the second ring. "Someone's watching my house." "Are you sure?" "I saw them. Security footage. Send it to me. Now." Jake forwarded the clip. Heard her keyboard clicking. "That's a professional," she said. "Body language, equipment, not random. What do I do?" "Stay inside. Keep the dogs close. I'm calling local police." Jake ended the call, looked at his pack. They hadn't moved. Still watching. He checked the cameras again. Nothing. Whoever it was had vanished, but they'd be back. Night fell. Jake didn't turn on lights, moved through the house by memory. The dogs shadowed him, never more than a few feet away. He made dinner, fed the pack. They ate quickly, returned to surveillance positions. Titan by the front door, Echo at the back, Grim covering the side window, Sable upstairs, Havoc with Jake. They'd established a defensive perimeter without being told. Jake's phone buzzed. Rodriguez calling back. "Morrison, I got your message. Someone's scouting my property." "I know. Police found tire tracks on the access road. Recent, heavy vehicle." "Who?" "We're working on it, but Morrison, listen carefully. Artfully. Do not engage. If anyone approaches, you call 911 first, then me. What if they don't give me time? Then you let the dogs do what they're trained to do." Jake's throat tightened. They've been through enough. They're survivors. They know how to protect. Rodriguez paused. "But I'm sending a patrol car. Should be there within the hour." "Copy that. And Morrison, load your weapon. I don't keep ammunition." Silence. Then Rodriguez spoke carefully. "There's a sporting goods store 12 miles south, open until 9. I can't leave the dogs. Take them with you. Don't be alone." Jake looked at Havoc. The dogs stared back, unblinking. "All right." He loaded all 5 dogs into the truck. They arranged themselves without direction. Titan in the passenger seat, the others in the back, windows down, noses testing the air. Jake drove carefully, watched his mirrors. No tail, no suspicious vehicles. The sporting goods store was half empty. He walked to the ammunition counter. The clerk eyed the dogs through the window. "Those yours, Foster? They're beautiful." Jake nodded. "Purchased 2 boxes of ammunition, rifle rounds. Enough." The clerk handed over the bag. "You got some kind of trouble?" "Just being careful. Smart man." Jake returned to the truck. The dogs hadn't moved, still on watch. He drove home, slower this time, taking side roads, checking for followers. Nothing. The patrol car sat in his driveway. 2 officers stood beside it, hands near sidearms. Jake parked, got out slowly. The dogs remained in the truck. "Mr. Morrison, that's me. Officer Trent, this is Officer Hayes. We'll be doing periodic drive-bys tonight. Appreciate it." Trent looked at the truck. "Those the military dogs?" "Yes. Heard about them. Hell of a story." "It's not over yet." Trent's expression sobered. "We'll keep watch. Anything unusual, you call." "Will do." The officers left. Jake brought the dogs inside, loaded his rifle, placed it beside the recliner. The dogs returned to their positions, professional, unwavering. Jake tried to sleep. Couldn't. His mind raced through scenarios, attack vectors, escape routes. 3 years of isolation. Now 5 living beings depended on him. The weight was crushing and familiar. 2 in the morning. Havoc's growl woke him. Sharp, urgent. Jake grabbed the rifle, moved to the window. A truck parked on the road, headlights off, engine running. His security camera showed 2 figures approaching the house, moving low, tactical advance. Jake's training kicked in. He dialed 911, gave his address, said armed intruders. Then he called Rodriguez. No answer. The dogs were already in position. Titan at the door, Echo covering the back, Grim and Sable flanking. Havoc stayed with Jake, eyes locked on the front door. A sound, metal scraping. Someone working the lock. Jake chambered around. The click echoed. The scraping stopped. Voices outside. Low, urgent. Then footsteps, running. Back to the truck. The vehicle sped away. Taillights disappearing. Jake's hands shook. His breathing came fast. The dogs maintained position. Didn't relax until sirens approached. 4 patrol cars arrived. Officers swept the property. Found a lockpick set on the porch. Boot prints in the mud. Tire tracks matching the earlier sighting. Detective James took Jake's statement. Examined the security footage. "This is professional work," he said. "Not random burglary." "I know. What do they want?" Jake looked at the dogs. Then, the detective followed his gaze. The stolen canines. Yes, then they'll be back. Jake's jaw tightened. I know that too. Detective James made notes. We'll increase patrols. But Mr. Morrison, you might want to consider relocating. Temporarily. To where? Anywhere less isolated. Jake looked at his house. His sanctuary. His prison. The dogs watched him, trusting. Vulnerable despite their training. He thought of Ranger. The promise he'd made. Protect the pack. I'm not running. Detective James nodded slowly. Then you're going to need help. He made a call, spoke quietly, hung up. K9 units sending backup. 2 handlers, armed. They'll be here within 2 hours. Jake exhaled. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. If these people want those dogs bad enough, they'll come heavy. Let them come. The detective studied him. You were military? Marines. Thought so. He handed Jake his card. Direct line. Anytime. The officers left. The house fell silent again. Jake sat in the recliner, rifle across his lap, dogs around him. Havoc rested his head on Jake's knee. We're in this together now, Jake whispered. Havoc's eyes closed. Trust, absolute. Jake's hand found the dog's head, scratched gently. Outside, dawn approached, light creeping across the horizon. But Jake knew darkness was coming, and it would bring violence with it. The K9 handlers arrived at dawn, 2 men in tactical gear, Sergeant Chen and Corporal Hayes. They carried rifles and wore body armor. Jake met them at the door. The dogs assessed them, recognized friendly. Sergeant Chen extended his hand. Rodriguez sent us. We're here as long as you need. Jake shook it, appreciated. They established a rotation, 1 handler outside, 1 inside. Jake maintaining overwatch with the security cameras. The dogs adapted immediately, integrated the handlers into their defensive perimeter. Hours passed. Nothing happened. But the tension built. Everyone felt it. Noon arrived. Jake made sandwiches. The handlers ate in shifts. The dogs remained alert. Sergeant Chen studied them. Remarkable discipline. They haven't relaxed once. They can't afford to. Chen nodded. Rodriguez briefed us. These dogs have seen things. Jake looked at Titan's scarred face. More than things. Hell. The afternoon dragged. Jake's exhaustion pressed down. He hadn't slept properly in 2 days. Corporal Hayes noticed. Sir, you should rest. We've got this. Jake shook his head. Can't. You're no good to them exhausted. Havoc approached, nudged Jake's hand, then walked to the recliner, looked back. The message was clear. Rest. Jake relented, sat in the recliner, Havoc curled at his feet. Within minutes, Jake's eyes closed. He woke to Titan's barking, sharp, aggressive. Jake shot upright, the rifle already in his hands. Sergeant Chen was at the window. We've got movement. Multiple contacts. How many? 4, maybe 5. Coming through the woods. Jake checked the cameras. 5 figures in dark clothing, moving with military precision, carrying weapons. Call it in. Chen was already on the radio. Dispatch. We have armed intruders approaching residence. Request immediate backup. The response crackled. Units en route. ETA 12 minutes. Jake's stomach dropped. Too long. The figures reached the tree line. Stopped. Assessed. 1 raised a hand. Military signals. The others spread out, surrounding the house. Hayes moved to the back door, locked it, braced it with a chair. Chen covered the front. Jake took the side window. The dogs positioned themselves. Titan with Jake, Echo with Chen. Gwyn with Hayes, Sable upstairs as lookout. Havoc moving between positions. Coordinated defense without commands. A voice called from outside. Morrison, we just want the dogs. Nobody has to get hurt. Jake recognized the tone. Practiced, calm, predatory. He didn't respond. The voice continued. Those dogs are worth $250,000. We're not leaving without them. Chen whispered. Stall them. Jake called back. Who are you? People who don't like losing inventory. They're not inventory. They're living beings. Laughter. Cold. That's cute. You got 2 minutes to send them out. Then we come in. Jake's hands tightened on the rifle. Not happening. Silence. Then the sound of a round being chambered. Your funeral. Chen's radio crackled. Units 8 minutes out. Too long. Movement. The figures advanced, using trees as cover. Jake's training took over. He aimed through the window, didn't fire, just tracked. A flash, muzzle fire, glass shattered. Jake dropped. The bullet hit the wall behind him. Return fire from Chen. Controlled bursts. The figures scattered, took better cover. Hayes called from the back. 2 more approaching rear. I count 7 total. Jake swore. They'd underestimated the numbers. Another. Their volley, more windows breaking, bullets punching through walls. The dogs didn't flinch, held position. Titan growled, low and continuous, the sound of controlled rage. Jake moved to another window, fired twice, suppressive, not aiming to kill, just keep them back. One figure stumbled, hit, dragged away by another. The attack paused, regrouping. Chen reloaded. We can't hold them off for 8 minutes. Jake's mind raced. The barn, reinforced doors, better sight lines. He called to Hayes. We're moving to the barn, fighting retreat. Copy. Jake signaled the dogs. They understood immediately. Titan took point toward the back door. Hayes opened it, checked, clear. They moved fast. Jake first, then the dogs, then the handlers. Gunfire erupted, covering their movement. Jake reached the barn, threw open the door. The dogs poured in. Hayes and Chen followed, slammed the door, barred it. The barn was larger. Hay bales for cover, loft for elevation. Jake climbed to the loft. Chen joined him. Hayes stayed below, with the dogs. Better angles, better cover. The attackers advanced on the house. Kicked in the front door. Realized it was empty. Shouts, confusion. Then they spotted the barn. 7 figures, all armed, moving in formation. Jake aimed carefully, fired, clipped one in the leg. He went down. Chen fired, hit another in the shoulder. The attackers returned fire. Bullets thudded into the barn walls, but the old wood was thick, built to last. Hayes called up. They're flanking, both sides. Jake shifted position, covered the left approach. Chen took right. The dogs positioned below, waiting. A figure reached the barn door, tried to force it. Titan launched himself against it from inside. 80 pounds of muscle and fury. The door held. The figure stumbled back. Another approached the side window, raised his weapon. Grim was there, snarling, snapping through the gap. The man jerked away, fired blindly. The bullet missed. Hayes returned fire. Precise, controlled. The man retreated. Jake's radio crackled. Police dispatch. Units 4 minutes out. Hold on. A new sound. Engine roar. A truck crashed through the fence, heading straight for the barn. Jake aimed, fired at the tires, missed. Chen fired, hit the windshield. Spider cracks. The truck didn't slow. It rammed the barn door. Wood splintered. The door partially caved. The dogs scattered, avoided the debris. Men poured through the opening. 3 of them, weapons raised. Hayes engaged, point-blank range. 1 man went down. The other 2 took cover behind the truck. The dogs moved. No hesitation. Echo hit the first man low, knocked his legs out. Grim took the second high. Jaws clamped on the rifle. The weapon clattered away. Sable appeared from the shadows, positioned between the intruders and Hayes, her teeth bared. A warning. The men froze. Titan emerged. Alpha presence. He didn't attack, just stared. The dominance display was absolute. 1 man's nerve broke. He ran. The other raised his hands. Surrender. Jake descended from the loft, weapon trained. Chen kept overwatch. Hayes secured the surrendered man, zip ties from his vest. Sirens. Close now. The remaining attackers outside heard them, retreated. Engines starting. 2 vehicles sped away. Police cars flooded the driveway. Officers emerged, weapons drawn. Jake called out, "Friendly, don't shoot." Officers secured the area, found 2 wounded attackers, 1 surrendered. 1 unconscious. Detective James arrived, surveyed the damage. Hell of a firefight. Jake lowered his rifle, hands shaking now. Adrenaline crash. The dogs gathered around him, all 5, unharmed. He dropped to his knees. They pressed close, his vision blurred. You did it. You all did it. Havoc licked his face. Comfort. Connection. Paramedics treated the wounded. Police took statements. Sergeant Chen approached Detective James. We've got 2 in custody. Both have outstanding warrants. Military equipment theft. Canine trafficking. James nodded. We'll get them talking. Jake remained with the dogs, his hands buried in their fur. Rodriguez's truck. Pulled up. He stepped out. Took in the scene. He walked to Jake. Helped him stand. You held them off. The dogs held them off. I just stayed alive. Rodriguez looked at the pack. Then at Jake. You gave them something to protect. That's everything. Jake's throat closed. Can't speak. Rodriguez gripped his shoulder. They're yours. Officially. Full adoption. All 5. Jake's head snapped up. What? Medical board reviewed their cases. Combined with tonight's events, they're retired. Honorably. And they're staying with you. Jake looked at the dogs, at their trusting eyes. I don't know if I can do this. Rodriguez smiled. You already are. Havoc leaned against Jake's leg, the weight familiar now. The other dogs circled, a protective formation. But this time they weren't protecting against enemies. They were protecting family. Jake's hands found each head, scratched, petted. All right. You're home. All of you. 5 tails wagged. The sun broke through the clouds. Golden light across the farmhouse. The barn was damaged. The house was shot up. But they were alive. Together. And for the first time in 3 years, Jake Morrison felt something other than survivor's guilt. He felt a purpose. 3 days after the attack, Rodriguez returned, this time with a woman in civilian clothes. She carried a briefcase and wore the expression of someone bearing difficult news. Jake met them on the porch. The dogs flanked him. Protective but calm. Morrison, this is Agent Vance, FBI, Canine Trafficking Task Force. Jake shook her hand. Her grip was firm. Professional. Mr. Morrison, may we come inside? Jake led them to the kitchen. The dogs arranged themselves around the table, watchful. Agent Vance opened her briefcase, pulled out photographs, crime scene images, shipping manifests, financial records. She slid them across the table. We've been tracking this net worth for 18 months. Military canines stolen and sold internationally. Your dogs were part of the largest shipment we've encountered. How large? 23 dogs, 12 bases, coordinated hits over 6 months. Jake's jaw clenched. 23. Vance continued. The 2 men we arrested are talking. Gave us names, locations, bank accounts. She paused, and they gave us the man running the operation. Who? Marcus Webb, former military contractor, dishonorable discharge 8 years ago for equipment theft. He's been operating in the black market ever since. Rodriguez leaned forward. Webb was in country when your dogs were taken. He planned the transport ambush personally. Where is he now? Vance's expression darkened. That's why I'm here. Webb knows we arrested his men, knows his network is compromised, and he knows where these dogs are. Jake's blood ran cold. He's coming here. We believe so. She pulled out another photo. Surveillance image. Webb at a gas station, 40 miles from here, yesterday. The dog sensed Jake's tension. Titan moved closer, rested his head on Jake's knee. Vance watched the interaction. Mr. Morrison, we can offer protective custody. Relocate you and the dogs until Webb is apprehended. For how long? However long it takes. Jake looked around his kitchen, his grandfather's house, his sanctuary. Then he looked at the dogs, at their scars, their exhausted eyes. They'd run enough. No. We stay. Rodriguez nodded. Expected that answer. Which is why we have a plan. Vance pulled out tactical maps. Your property becomes a controlled site. Undercover agents positioned as contractors. Repairing your barn and house. FBI surveillance in the woods. We turn this into a trap. Using us as bait. Using Webb's obsession against him. Vance met his eyes. These dogs represent $250,000 in lost revenue. Plus they're witnesses to multiple felonies. Webb can't let them go. And when he comes, we take him down. Permanently. Jake studied the map. The proposed agent positions, sight lines, escape routes. His military training evaluated it. Solid plan. Good coverage. What do you need from me? Act normal. Keep your routine. Let Webb think you're vulnerable. Titan growled softly, disagreeing with that assessment. Assessment. Vance smiled slightly. Your dogs might blow our cover. They're too well trained. They'll adapt. Jake scratched Titan's ears. Won't you? Titan's tail thumped once. Conditional agreement. Rodriguez stood. We start tomorrow. Construction crew arrives at 0800. All former military. All armed. Jake nodded. Understood. Vance packed her briefcase. Mr. Morrison, one more thing. When this is over, there will be questions. Media attention. Your dogs are heroes. People will want their story. I don't want attention. I know. But they deserve recognition. Valkyrie's legacy deserves recognition. Jake looked at Havoc. The pup's eyes held his mother's courage. We'll deal with that when the time comes. Vance left. Rodriguez lingered. You don't have to do this. We can move you tonight. Quietly. These dogs chose to stop running. I'm respecting that choice. Rodriguez studied him. You've changed. Since I first called you. Jake glanced at the pack. They changed me. Good. Rodriguez moved to the door, paused. Emma Torres, Havoc's handler. Did I tell you about her? No. Rodriguez pulled out his phone, showed a photo. Young woman in uniform, German Shepherd at her side. Both smiling. She was 26. Best handler I ever trained. Valkyrie was her first canine. They were inseparable. What happened? The bombing that killed Valkyrie. Emma was there. Tried to pull Valkyrie back. The blast caught them both. Jake's chest tightened. I'm sorry. Rodriguez's voice thickened. Emma knew Valkyrie was pregnant. Against regulations, but Emma couldn't bear to separate them. Valkyrie gave birth in a supply tent. 3 pups. Emma stayed up 3 nights straight, making sure they survived. He zoomed in on the photo. Havoc was the smallest, the weakest. Emma hand-fed him, slept beside him, willed him to live. Tears burned Jake's eyes. The day Emma died, Rodriguez continued, she wrote in her journal. About Havoc. About his potential. She wrote, if anything happens to me, make sure he knows he's loved. Rodriguez closed his phone. You're giving him that. What Emma wanted. Jake couldn't speak. Havoc sensed his emotion, pressed against his leg. Rodriguez left. The house fell quiet. Jake sat on the floor. All 5 dogs gathered around him. He pulled Havoc close. Your mom loved you. Your handler loved you. They both sacrificed everything. Havoc's eyes held understanding beyond words. I won't let that be for nothing. The next morning, trucks arrived. Men in construction gear unloaded lumber, tools. They worked efficiently, professionally. But Jake noticed the way they moved, the way they scanned, the bulges under their shirts. FBI, every one of them. The dogs noticed too, but they accepted the presence, recognized protective intent. Jake maintained routine, fed the dogs, walked the property, checked cameras. Agent Vance monitored from a van disguised as a contractor vehicle. 2 days passed. Nothing. On the 3rd day, Jake's security system pinged. Motion sensor on the western boundary. He checked the feed. A man in hunting gear, binoculars, watching the house. Jake radioed Vance. Contact, west perimeter. We see him, don't react. Let him watch. The man stayed for 20 minutes, then disappeared into the woods. That night, Jake's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Hello. A voice. Smooth, controlled. Mr. Morrison. My name is Marcus Webb. Jake's pulse spiked. He gestured to the dogs. A move to defensive positions. What do you want? I think you know. Those dogs are mine. They were stolen. From the military. From handlers who died protecting them. Semantics. I acquired assets that were abandoned. Now I want them back. Not happening. Webb's tone hardened. I'm offering you money. 200,000. Cash. Walk away. Forget you ever saw them. They're not for sale. Everything's for sale, Mr. Morrison. You just haven't found your price yet. Jake's grip tightened on the phone. There is no price. Silence. Then Webb spoke quietly. You're a veteran. You understand sacrifice. Don't sacrifice yourself for animals. They're not animals. They're soldiers. RS, like me, like the handlers who died for them, touching, but irrelevant. Webb's voice went cold. I'll give you 24 hours. After that, I take them. And I go through you if necessary. The line went dead. Jake looked at Vance's van. She'd been recording, tracking the call. His radio crackled. We got him. Cell tower triangulation. He's at a motel 15 miles south. Jake exhaled. When do we move? Vance's voice was hard. Now. Tactical team is rolling. You stay here with 2 agents. We'll have Webb in custody within the hour. Jake acknowledged, waited. The dogs sensed the shift. Tension. Anticipation. Tightened paced. Echo whined softly. Grimm's muscles stayed coiled. Sable positioned herself by the door. Havoc stayed with Jake. Minutes felt like hours. Then Vance's voice on the radio. Crushed. We missed him. Room was empty. He left 30 minutes ago. Jake's stomach dropped. He knew you were listening. Webb's smarter than we thought. Vance paused. Morrison, he's coming tonight. I'm pulling the team back to your location. Full defensive perimeter. Copy. Jake checked his rifle. Loaded. Ready. He looked at the dogs, at their absolute trust. Whatever happens, he said softly, we face it together. 5 tails wagged. Outside, darkness fell, and somewhere in that darkness, Marcus Webb was coming. For the last time. Webb never came that night. Or the next. The waiting became its own form of torture. 1 week later, Agent Vance sat in Jake's kitchen, frustrated. We've lost him. No financial activity, no cell phone pings. He's gone underground. Jake watched the dogs sleep by the fireplace. So, we just wait? We keep surveillance active. But honestly, he might have cut his losses. Or he's planning something we can't see. Vance didn't disagree. 2 weeks passed. The FBI reduced their presence. Construction finished. The house and barn stood repaired, stronger than before. Jake settled into a new routine. 5 dogs. 5 distinct personalities. 5 reasons to wake up each morning. Titan became his shadow. The old warrior recognized a kindred spirit. They walked the property together each dawn, checking, protecting. Echo bonded over quiet moments. She'd rest her damaged nose against Jake's hand, finding comfort in simple touch. Grin's aggression faded, replaced by gentleness. He played with toys Jake bought, puppy behavior finally emerging. Sable appointed herself house manager. She organized the other dogs, maintained order, kept everyone fed and watered, and Havoc became what Ranger had been: partner, protector, friend. Jake's nightmares decreased. The trembling in his hands eased. Physical therapy exercises got used. Beth visited, saw the transformation, cried when the dogs greeted her with wagging tails. You're living again, she whispered. Jake hugged her, for the first time in 3 years. I'm trying. 1 month after Webb's call, Rodriguez returned. With news. We got him. Webb tried to cross into Mexico. Border Patrol flagged him. He's in federal custody. Jake's relief was physical. It's over. The trial will take months, but with the evidence we have, he's looking at 20 years minimum. Jake nodded. Good. Rodriguez handed him an envelope from the Canine Memorial Foundation. They want to honor your dogs. Public ceremony. Next month. Jake opened it. Formal invitation. Mayor's office. Press coverage. His instinct was to refuse. But he thought of Emma Torres, of Valkyrie, of all the handlers who'd given everything. These stories deserve to be told. We'll be there. The ceremony took place on a clear Saturday morning. City Plaza. Hundreds of people. Veterans, handlers, families. A stage held photographs. Valkyrie in her prime. Emma Torres smiling. Other fallen canines and their handlers. Jake stood backstage. 5 dogs beside him, all wearing ceremonial vests. United States military canine embroidered across them. Havoc's vest had an extra patch. Valkyrie's legacy. The mayor spoke first, about sacrifice, about service, about bonds that transcend species. Then Rodriguez took the microphone, told the story, the ambush, the theft, the escape. Cape. The reunion. He called Jake forward. The crowd erupted in applause. Jake walked to the stage. 5 German shepherds in perfect formation. The noise should have frightened them, but they held steady, professional to the core. Jake reached the microphone, looked at the sea of faces. His throat tightened. Public speaking had never been his strength. But then, Havoc pressed against his leg, grounding pressure. Jake found his voice. 3 years ago, I lost my partner. Ranger, a dog who gave everything so others could live. I thought that loss would define the rest of my life. He paused, looked down at his pack. Then 5 dogs found me. 5 survivors who'd been through hell, who'd lost handlers they loved, who'd been stolen, abused, trafficked. His voice strengthened. They could have given up, could have become violent, broken, but they didn't. They protected each other, found each other, and somehow they found me. Tears streaked faces in the crowd. These dogs taught me that survival isn't enough, that healing is possible, that family isn't just blood. It's choice, it's commitment, it's showing up every day, even when it hurts. He knelt. All 5 dogs moved closer, a unified pack. Valkyrie died protecting soldiers. Emma Torres died trying to save her, and their son, Havoc carries both their legacies: courage, loyalty, love. Jake stood, met the crowd's eyes. If this story touches you, honor it. Support canine veterans. Support their handlers. Make sure no dog or human who served is forgotten. The applause was deafening, but Jake barely heard it. Because an elderly woman approached the stage, tears streaming, clutching a photograph. Rodriguez helped her up. She walked directly to Havoc. The dog sat, stared at her. Recognition flickered. The woman knelt. Trembling hands reached out. "You're Emma's boy. You have her eyes." Jake's breath caught. "Mrs. Torres?" She nodded. "Maria Torres, Emma's mother." Havoc's nose touched the photograph she held. Emma and Valkyrie, young, alive, happy. A whine built in Havoc's chest. Not pain, memory. Maria sobbed. "She loved you so much, even before you were born. She made me promise if anything happened, I'd find you. But you were gone, stolen. I thought I'd lost you both." Her fingers found Havoc's head, the exact spot Emma used to scratch. Havoc leaned into the touch, eyes closing, a gesture Emma had taught Valkyrie. That Valkyrie had passed to her son. Maria looked at Jake. "Thank you. For protecting him. For giving him what Emma wanted." Jake's voice broke. "He protected me." Maria pulled an envelope from her pocket. Emma's journal. Her final entries. About Havoc. About her dreams for him. She pressed it into Jake's hands. He should know her words. Should know how much she was loved. Jake accepted it, carefully, like the treasure it was. Maria stood, hugged Jake, tight, desperate. "You gave me back a piece of my daughter." The ceremony continued, but Jake barely registered it. He sat backstage, opened the journal. Emma's handwriting. Neat, determined. Day 47. Havoc is getting stronger. Still small, but fierce. He reminds me of his mom. All heart. Day 63. Watched Havoc try to protect the other pups from a loud noise. He's going to be an incredible working dog. Day 89. Last day before deployment. Havoc looked at me like he knew. I promised him I'd come back. I hope I can keep that promise. The final entry, dated the day Emma died. If you're reading this, I didn't make it. Please make sure Havoc knows he's loved. That he's not just a tool or a weapon. He's a soul. Treat him that way. Jake closed the journal, looked at Havoc. She kept her promise. Through you, through this. Havoc's tail wagged slowly, understanding beyond words. 3 months later, the farmhouse had transformed. Reinforced fence, obstacle course for the dogs, a memorial garden, 5 stones, engraved. Valkyrie, Emma Torres, Ranger, and the 2 handlers killed in the transport ambush. Jake stood before them each morning, the dogs beside him, paying respects, remembering. His sister visited often now, brought her kids. The dogs were gentle with. With them, patient, Jake had started volunteering, canine PTSD awareness, speaking to veterans, sharing his story. The nightmares still came, but less frequently. And when they did, 5 warm bodies surrounded him, anchoring him to the present. Rodriguez called one evening. News coverage had spread. International attention. Donations flooded the Canine Memorial Fund. Legislation proposed for better canine veteran care. "Your story changed things," Rodriguez said. "Our story," Jake corrected. "This was never just about me." He hung up, walked outside. The dogs followed. Sunset painted the sky gold and crimson. The woods were peaceful, safe. Jake sat on the porch steps. 5 German shepherds arranged around him. Titan's gray muzzle rested on Jake's shoulder. Echo curled at his feet. Gwyn sprawled beside him. Sable leaned against his back. Havoc's head lay in his lap. Perfect symmetry, perfect peace. Jake's hand found the journal in his pocket. Emma's words, a reminder. Their souls, treat them that way. He looked at each dog, at their scars, their trust, their resilience. "You saved me," he whispered. "Every single one of you." 5 tails wagged. Agreement, acknowledgement. But Havoc lifted his head, locked eyes with Jake. And in that gaze, Jake saw the truth. We saved each other. The words hung in the air, simple, profound, true. Jake scratched behind Havoc's torn ear. The pup's eyes closed, content. Above them, stars emerged, one by one, like souls watching, Approving. Ranger, Valkyrie, Emma. All the fallen, all the heroes. Their legacy lived. In these 5 dogs, in this moment, in the healing happening quietly on a Virginia farmhouse porch. Jake pulled out his phone, took a photograph. 5 dogs, 1 man, golden hour light. He sent it to Beth, to Rodriguez, to Maria Torres. The caption read, "Family." Within minutes, responses flooded in. Hearts, tears, gratitude. But Jake set the phone aside, focused on the present, on the weight of Havoc's head, on Titan's steady breathing, on Echo's soft snore, on Grimm's occasional tail thump, on Sable's protective warmth. This was enough. This was everything. The wind carried the scent of pine and earth. The dogs' ears twitched, monitoring, always monitoring, but their bodies stayed relaxed, safe. Jake closed his eyes, let the moment wash over him. 3 years ago, he'd been broken, alone, convinced his purpose had died with Ranger. Now he understood. Purpose doesn't die. It transforms. It finds new expressions, new missions. His mission now was simple. Love these 5 souls, honor their sacrifices, give them the peace they'd earned, and in doing so, find his own. The porch light flickered on, automatic sensor, soft yellow glow. Jake stood. The dogs rose with him, synchronized, united. Inside, dinner waited. Routine waited. Tomorrow waited. But for now, this moment, this family, this hard-won peace. Jake held the door open. The dogs filed in, each pausing to look back, making sure he followed. He smiled. First genuine smile in years. "I'm coming. I'm right here." He entered, closed the door, locked it. Not to keep the world out, but to keep this sanctuary safe. On the mantel, Ranger's collar hung beside 5 new ones, each engraved, each honored. Below them, Emma's journal lay open, her words visible. Their souls, treat them that way. And in the quiet farmhouse, surrounded by 5 German shepherds who'd survived hell to find home. Jake Morrison finally understood. Healing wasn't about forgetting, it was about honoring, about carrying forward, about choosing love over loss. The dogs settled into their beds, but their eyes stayed on Jake, watchful, protective, devoted. He looked at each one, whispered their names like a prayer. Titan, Echo, Grimm, Sable, Havoc, my family, my purpose, my reason. The lights dimmed, the house breathed, and 5 souls rested, knowing they were home, knowing they were loved, knowing they were finally, truly safe. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. These bonds are real. These sacrifices matter. And their legacy will never be forgotten.